think a piece of that, though, when you mentioned the word hope, when we ourselves are able to move out of the us versus them notion, so that it's not as if there's this one relational world and then the rest of the world is non-relational, and then we just have to change the rest of the world. We really can start with ourselves. We really can start with our areas of influence. We can start with the ways we talk to young people. We can allow people to have an impact on our lives and not think of ourselves as fully finished. And we have we are now our best relational selves. So all we can do is go out and teach other people how to be relational. That's actually not the point. All of us have different levels of power in different dimensions, and all of us are susceptible to either using it wisely and justly, or using it in a way that accrues to our own benefit to the exclusion of someone else. So to the extent that we are able to be intentional and aware of how we are sitting in the power that we own, then I think we can be more effective in turning this model into effective practice.
Right. I was thinking, again, Jean's gift of calling this work a work in progress.
Yes.
It's not finished. It's not a theory. We call it a model, but it is a work in progress, and that's because we really believe that we are in constant interaction, and we should be responsive to the feedback that we're getting, that this doesn't make sense, or this makes sense, or whatever. And the other thing I was thinking about hope, I was thinking that in a way this whole separate self model is based on a deeply cynical and pessimistic notion of human nature. Like human beings are born greedy, nasty, aggressive, and that the job of socialization is to make them more behave better. And I think a piece of the gift in this work, a piece of the hope, is about saying that's not the full story of human nature. There's a lot that we now know, that through the neurochemistry, through the neuroscience, through observation of babies, that there is a lot of connecting and a lot that's very pliable and plastic, and we can change it, but there's a lot of good in people, in human nature, that gets overlooked in most of these theories. And then people will say, well, what can you do? It's just human nature to be aggressive, to be nasty, to be selfish. And furthermore, that we have reinforced self-interest, as a very, very important variable, rather than contributing to the community or contributing to relationship. It's just, there's a lot that's shifting when you step back out of the separate self model. There's a lot that shifts in terms of, I think, hope, which I feel hopeful if I can think human nature has a lot of good things.
Yeah, it makes you look at the ways in which the story of cooperation has been disappeared.
Absolutely.
And it's absolutely there. I mean, it is there in the hard science.
Yes.
Absolutely. That survival and adaptation happen to be about meaningful connection on all levels of life. All levels.
It's there in Darwin's original writings.
Absolutely.
And got disappeared.
Absolutely. Why did it get disappeared?
Competition was the way. The survival of the strongest was the
But I am deeply curious about why.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I mean, when we see the things that have happened, in the world. I mean, just two examples. You look at the tsunami and the disaster in Japan, and how there was so much commentary about where was the looting, where was the just these lines of grieving, people cooperating and trying to make the best of things. And the other one that's fairly ridiculous, but the wedding last week, and if you watched the people going into Buckingham Palace, the throngs, but they were, in order, and and the commentators were, if this was America, there'd be shoving and pushing, and why?
But you know what?
Why?
If you go back and read the story of Katrina, that also is a story about cooperation, and that story didn't get told.
Yeah. That's, you know, when I heard your question, I was thinking about which stories get elevated.
Yes.
Which stories
Yes.
are brought to life, because
Yes.
people are always cooperating
Yeah,
and
it's happening
seeing
all the time,
themselves,
that's right.
always.
That's right, of
You
course.
know, and again,
Right.
I think when
Right.
privilege allows us to have the illusion
Yeah.
that we are by ourselves, whatever, because the supports all disappeared,
Right.
you know, totally disappeared. So when we go back to Jean's book in 1976, I think one of my favorite chapters was the significance of unimportant ties or something like
Yeah.
that. But it was, I love that chapter. Well, now there's a best-selling book on the market. It's a business management book, and it's about the power of weak ties.
Yeah. Yeah.
But again,
Yeah.
the notion that these are incredibly significant people in your life,
Yeah.
and but a part of the privilege is going to disappear them to support this illusion of individual heroism,
Yeah.
and you know, this story that almost sort of like last man standing, or you know, the king of the hill, or who gets on top.
Yeah.
And that is the kind of story that I think can only get celebrated in a culture when there's this notion that the world is a hostile place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right.
And so
Exactly.
you've got to have power over other people, or they will overpower you.
Yes.
When there is a reality that people have lived a different way, and people are living every day
Every day.
in a different way. If you go back to something that you wrote, I think probably late 90s, on learning from the margins.
Yes.
Mhm.
Right. Right. Right.